This is the OPENROAD 4,500 pound winch that we're going to be installing on this Can-Am XMR 650. All right guys, so right now we're actually working on taking basically half of this quad apart because you need to take it apart in order to put any kind of winch in. But let's talk a little bit about the winch. So there's a 4,500 pound winch by a company OPENROAD, which is very inexpensive, but it seems like a pretty high quality winch, but we're gonna find out how good it is because we're gonna install it and then test it out. So here's the winch, and it comes with actually synthetic cable, which is great versus the metal cable. It comes with your lead, it comes with all the hardware. It has a mounting plate, which is really nice. Wiring, here's your solenoid. More wiring. We actually have 2 more cables that we're testing the length on to make sure it was gonna fit properly on here. You know, you have your hook, and then it actually has 2 remote controls also. So what we did so far is that we were testing to make sure the cables were the proper length. So basically you have your positive and negative, which are gonna run to the solenoid, and then from the solenoid it's gonna run to the winch to power it. The solenoid is actually gonna mount back up in here. We already got this plastic piece off. If you guys are doing this on a Can-Am XMR 650, then there's some other videos that I can link you to show you exactly how to take this apart. However, we're gonna focus just on the winch, on the install of that. We believe that it's gonna mount up direct to the plate on there, so we don't think that we're gonna have to use this plate, but we're gonna find out and let you guys know. Along with that, I think it's gonna be mostly plug and play other than having to take the quad apart. So give us a minute to get everything off, and then we'll show you guys how we mount it up.
All right, so here we are getting the winch ready. Basically, the synthetic rope is zip tied on, so he's just ripping the zip tie off. Here are the blue and yellow cables that we're going to get ready to actually mount onto the winch before we put it in. We're not sure how much room we're going to have in there, so we're going to put them on just in case. Here I'm showing just how there is a bracket already. So there's a bracket here to mount the winch, and on the front is where you actually mount the fair lead. So we're hoping that everything matches up perfectly. We're going to find out. It should fit in here pretty easy, and we should be able to bolt it down with 4 bolts for the winch, 2 for the fair lead, and everything should match up very easily. So right here we have the blue cable, and they actually have it labeled on there. You can see the blue behind there, so you know which one to put the blue on. And on the other side, they actually have a yellow washer or something that's on there that shows that the yellow cable goes on there. So now we're going to slide it in. So let's see how this thing fits. So the 4,500 pound winch from OPENROAD here with the synthetic cable actually slides right in. It's a perfect fit. And from what we can see here, it looks like it's going to mount up perfectly. Here I'm just showing that what we did is that this plastic piece on the Can-Am, we didn't take it off completely because you would have had to take off this whole bumper piece. We didn't want to do that. So what we can do is actually just take off the 2 bolts in the front, 2 on the bottom, and then we can pull the plastic piece down and get behind it so that we can get the bolts in to mount the winch. We think that that's the easiest way to do it on the Can-Am. So I'm handing him a bolt, and we're going to start getting this thing mounted. All right, so as my buddy was working on his side, I actually started working on the side that I was on. I actually got the bolt in first before he did. The first bolt's always a little bit hard. You got to match it up and make sure that everything's aligned, start screwing it in. So I got this one in the back. He's still working on the front one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the front one in, and he's going to get his other one in. So that should be mounted up in just a second. All right, so as you guys can see, we got all 4 bolts in. Everything lined up perfectly. We're really happy about this. We didn't have to use the plate. Now, one of the things is that if there was no mount for the fair lead in the front, we could actually use the plate here anyway on top of the mounting plate that they already had here. But we're able to do it directly because it has the mount for that fair lead. So we actually don't need that mounting plate for this installation. And now let me give you just one more quick walkthrough of what we've done so far.
Basically what we did is that we attached the blue and yellow, which I showed you. So those are just hanging there. We didn't tighten them all the way just so we can move them if we need to see kind of where we need to get to the solenoid. From there, we actually just put it direct into here, and we wanted to see if it fit the bolt pattern that was on the stock plate here, and it bolted right up. There was no problem. On top of that, it came with 13mm bolts, which is perfect because 13mm is everything else that we had that we were unbolting to take this apart. So it just made it really easy that we didn't have to switch sockets. So if you guys can see under here, there's 4 bolts in there now, mounted directly, so we didn't have to use the mounting plate. We have the yellow and blue connected, ready to go. All right, so now we're going to work out the wiring to see how we're going to wire from the battery to the solenoid. So what we're going to do is that we're actually going to take this piece off to see if it makes it easier. We're originally going to snake it through here and try and go around. The motor's on that side though, and obviously it's a little bit warm. So here, there's actually a ton of cables that go underneath there. So we're thinking that if we take this piece off, we might be able to run right down here with the other wires that are attached with the zip tie. Let's see what it looks like once we take it off. We're trying to avoid is bringing the wire right across the motor though, because we don't want the wire to heat up and melt. So we definitely need to keep it up here with the other wiring and bring it down. Now the Can-Am also has a place for mounting the solenoid, so we'll take a look at that and we'll see exactly where this wire needs to get to. But looking pretty good with the wiring, with the routing of the wiring. That eventually needs to come down under here. And then I think it's going to mount, does it mount to here? This metal bracket right here?
Mounts to the metal bracket.
So we're going to mount the solenoid right here. Alright guys, so you can see the wire coming through now to the placement of where the solenoid will be. And now we're going to do the same thing for the black wire, which is the negative. Now the black one we're going to try and bring in through a different port or a different hole on the plastic piece right there. Try and still wire it down. So you can see the red one is in, the positive cable, and now we just need to get that negative cable through. I took a little bit of fishing through and finding with the hand on the other side, but we now have that negative cable that's basically going to run right down with the positive. Eventually we'll put some zip ties and everything on here to make sure that it's held properly. But we want to get it wired up first and make sure everything's working. So it's a little warm out today, but if you see, the negative wire is now running down there. And if we look under here, we have the same length and both wires right here ready to go. So what we need to do is that we're going to have to connect the solenoid. This connects to the solenoid, and then the two wires coming from the winch are also going to connect to that. Off of there, that is actually the wireless piece for those wireless controllers to work. All right, so what we're going to do is that we're going to hook up everything without bolting it down just to test it to make sure everything's working properly. So what I wanted to show is that on the solenoid here, they actually did a great job because they actually color-coded where the wires go. So you can see that they actually put a little blue paint there and yellow paint there. Whoop, yellow paint there. So I have the blue one down, I have the yellow one down. Now I'm going to move this up to where I showed you that we had the positive and negative. We're going to hook those up, and then basically we're going to test out the winch before we bolt everything down just to make sure it's working properly the way that we want it to. Alright guys, so we'll call this the test location. Basically I have all the wires hooked up, but it's just kind of hanging here. Eventually it will bolt back there. I think I showed that I might have been pointing at this. What I meant is that it's actually going to bolt to this frame piece back here. This is actually stock wiring for on-off for the Can-Am winch. I don't know if we're going to be able to use this or not. We're going to look into it to see if we can use that in any way. But we are going to be bolting the solenoid back here. But for right now, we just have it on here. We have the switch in and out right here. So we're going to be testing this in just 1 second. All right, so we got it wired up here, right? I showed you that, just temporary solution. We got the switch there. It's wired up to the battery. We got the synthetic rope here, and we're going to hit the button and see what happens. Oh, it's coming out. So it is working. Looking good. So wait, hold up. We got to try the remote now.
For me.
All right, so I think you got to hit the power button on the side.
Power button on the side.
Okay, and then hit the button. Oh, it's working. Look at that.
Look at that.
All right, so we're going to get this thing bolted up and see how it actually does for pulling this quad out of a ditch probably. Let's do it. Quick note, we did not forget the boots. This was just a temporary kind of hookup to make sure that it was working. We are going to put these boots on right now. So when I get back and I show you everything bolted up, you'll see that the boots are on. You'll see where that's bolted to. We'll show you that the lead is actually on here and we're good to go. And then everything's hooked up. So what we're working on right now is that we need to get the wiring for the switch, because the switch is going to be mounted up here, back down into where the solenoid is, because that's what it connects to. So we actually, even though the wiring is already wired to the solenoid, we have to disconnect it, and now we're going to put it through and get that mounted up on the top. So we're finishing up for the day. We did not finish actually putting everything together. However, the wives have been calling us to figure out why we're not done yet. So we have it pretty much wired up. You guys saw that we actually tested it. Everything is looking really nice. Now we're just kind of looking at the best way to kind of route the wiring, how we're going to zip tie it down. You can see we got the boots on now here. We got the boots on there, which we didn't have when we were just testing. If you look up here, we got the switch mounted in a location that he likes. And we have the wiring going on here. We have it disconnected right now. We're back. Everything's mostly bolted up. So if you see here, we got Everything bolted up here with the lead. Everything's working good. Little open road here. Bringing around to the side, we got everything bolted back up over here. But what you can see is the wiring is actually really nice and tight in here. And then everything goes back up in here, and you can see it zip tied on there. Behind here is where the solenoid is. You can see the wiring a little bit here. And then what you saw before, we don't have this piece on yet, but the positive and negative run back to the battery. So the install was pretty easy. Since it's a winch that can be installed on any model quad, ATV, UTV, the wiring sometimes is a little bit extra depending on the size. So we have extra wiring, but everything fits up in there very nicely. It's all zip tied together. And then of course you can see the switch is up here. And it's working really well. So let's just show how it works right now. So we got the remote. He's gonna be using the remote. I'll hold on to this. Not bad. Not bad at all. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna get the wheel on, we're gonna get the rest of the body on, and then we're gonna take it in the woods and see how it works. We're gonna put it through the paces, pull it up a hill, maybe get it stuck, pull it out of a ditch, who knows? We'll see what happens. All right, to start off, we're gonna do a little test where we're not stuck, but we have a hill here. So we're just gonna basically attach it to the tree and see how well it does just pulling it up the hill. When you guys do this on the side of the winch, on every winch, if you guys can see in the air, I don't know if you're gonna see it too well, probably not. But on the side of the winch right here, there's a knob that you basically turn. And when you turn it, that actually releases this. So now we can just pull this out without having to let it out. It's a steep hill to walk up. All right, my guy. Open road. All right, guys, so we got it all tied up. We're gonna try and use the remote. So we'll click it on. Red light says on. Now I'm gonna go in. I can hear it. Tighten it up. It doesn't stay on, it's like almost it turns on and off.
It's pulsating.
There it goes. It's almost like one, oh, we got the brake on, look at that, it's still pulling it.
Rescue me.
So it's working well. It's not the fastest thing, but you don't need it to be super fast. Let's get it up on the hill though. All right, so you can hear a difference in sound. Oh, you hit the brakes. Ah, he was hitting the brakes.
Some resistance.
Yeah. Give him a little test there. You got the brakes on? Yeah, you can see the front end go down. Still pulling it though. So normally when you're winching, you're trying to get it out, you're not trying to get it stuck, so you're not gonna have the brakes on, and hopefully somebody's on it riding it, giving it some gas, trying to get out of wherever you're stuck. But you know, we're trying to put it through the paces and see what it does, and first test, did well. Very happy. We'll bring it right up. And we're there. First test, pass, flying colors. All right, guys, so now we're gonna test pulling another quad out. So you can see it's pretty slick where I am. Probably get out if I needed to, but wanted to sink it in here pretty good. Sunk pretty deep in the back. And now we're going to use the winch, the OPENROAD 4,500 pound winch, to pull out the Polaris. The Polaris is in neutral right now, so let's see how it does. Should probably go hold the handlebars. Whoa! Go for it. Oh wait, hold up. I'm in neutral, but for some reason, do you hear the back end?
Is your brake on?
No. Here, pull again, let's see what it sounds like. No, it's gone. It must have gotten caught on a rock or something. Nice. Test number 2, successful. All right, so we got one last test here. So basically we ended up starting to ride, and we just started riding, and we forgot about testing. So we did 2 tests. Now it's starting to get laid out. So we wanted to get one more test in with this winch. So we're gonna do it like you would normally actually winch. So what he's gonna do is that we got it tied up. You might not even be able to see the cable right now, but it is hooked up to this tree over here. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna try and pull it out of here, but since it is very rocky and this isn't even an area where we probably would normally ride, what he's gonna do is that he's gonna ride with it. So he is gonna give it some gas and everything to give it a little bit of help if he needs to, just like a regular way that you would winch your machine out of any kind of hole. So we're gonna get on and we're gonna get it started in just a minute. All right, so a little PSA for my buddy. He wanted to make sure that everyone knows that we are using a tree saver here, so we're not destroying the tree, just putting a metal cable around it or just, you know, hooking up to it improperly. So we are not destroying trees here testing this winch. All right, here we go. Let's see how this bad boy does. Try with just the winch to start. You guys see the cable? Yep, and it's pulling him over the rocks just like it should. Are you in neutral right now? He's in neutral right now. So he'll just start up in gear if he needs to, but right now it's pulling through pretty nicely over this huge rock. You guys saw that. No issue. So we pulled up a hill, we pulled out of a small little mud pit, and now we're pulling through some really rocky terrain. And he hasn't had to give it any kind of gas or anything. It's not in gear, just in neutral, and it's pulling through over these rocks without any issue whatsoever. On film it's really hard to tell, but we are on a hill, so it is pulling uphill also. If you look at this now, I'm going to back up a little bit, you can see that it is actually pulling up out of the ditch also, which is really nice. I'm going to get on a different angle so you can see that this is pulling up just like it should. Look at that. So what do you think for the price of the winch?
For the price of the winch, you can't beat it.
You can't beat it, man. You cannot beat this winch for the price. This thing, and yeah, we're gonna have it on here, so we'll have some more tests in the future, but just day one, bringing it out after hooking it up, no problems at all. All right, guys, so we're gonna get unhooked from here. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna do a little bit of riding. Thanks for watching. Hope to see everybody soon.
All right, I just want to do a quick summary for everybody. In the description below, I'm going to have a link to the OPENROAD 4,500 pound winch that you saw in this video. I'm working on getting everybody a discount on that, so hopefully there'll be a discount code there also. The standard price on this right now is $169.99, which we think is extremely inexpensive and fair for what you get. You get the OPENROAD 4,500 pound winch along with synthetic rope, not metal rope, and you get 2 wireless remotes with that. Just so you know, this does have a 3-year warranty on the motor and a permanent mechanical warranty. If you want to see additional specs on this, like power draw and things like that, click that link in the description and you'll be able to get all the specs right off their website. When I ordered this, it actually shipped from New Jersey, so it didn't ship from overseas or anything like that, so I thought that that was a big positive also. Overall, the install was very easy. It came with everything that you needed, and it could be installed on any ATV or UTV. With the Can-Am that we installed it on, it bolted directly to the plate that was on there, so it uses that standard bolt pattern, which is perfect. It came with an extremely nice fair lead that fit right on the front, and we were really happy with the quality of this. We thought that this winch was, again, inexpensive for what you get. The only complaint that we could have is that the remotes were a little bit large for what they were. However, they performed without any kind of issues. So if they needed to be larger to give you that longer range, we were, a decent 100 feet away from the quad and it was still working no problem. So we were really happy with everything about this, the quality, how it performed, the install. Basically, overall, this was a winch that you cannot beat for the price. So again, if you guys want to check the description below, I'm gonna have a link there, and it's gonna hopefully have a discount code also. Thanks for checking out the video. I look forward to posting some more for everybody.